Hey, so is it still possible to rank on page number one on Amazon without doing any shady activities, doing it the white hat way? You think it's still possible? Well, in this video, you are going to discover if it is or not, and perhaps some techniques on how to actually do that. And today I'm accompanied by Karina Molostova, and she's one of the co-founders of Seller Compass, which is an agency that helps sellers on Amazon with different services. So pretty much like all in one for sellers of different levels. And Karina is going to be here with us and helping us with the launching thing on Amazon. So Karina, welcome. How are you today? Welcome to the channel.
I am doing amazing. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah. So would you mind introducing yourself, please, to us, to the audience who's still not familiar with you? Well, you also have a YouTube channel, by the way, which we'll link in the description just for people to check it out. But then for those who don't know you in the community, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Karina Molostova, and I do have a YouTube channel. I was starting to sell on Amazon since 2017, private label, similar to you. And it has completely changed my life path. I mean, we can get into my story a little later, but I was not from a business background. I wasn't from any entrepreneurial background. I was pretty much in school and trying to look for opportunities everywhere. So that's how Amazon fell onto my lap. And I've always been a fan of launching products and actually just approaching the entire mindset of business and Amazon private label specifically from a low risk mindset, which means really minimizing the risk that you take. Because I know that all entrepreneurs, especially in private label, most of them, don't have $20,000 that they can just spend on a product or on a launch strategy. And unfortunately, I've heard that is kind of the bare minimum recommended all over YouTube, all over podcasts. And that was very steep for me, right? And me as a university student and having that mindset, I really went around and thought maybe there's another way to be successful at Amazon without taking those high risks. So over the past years, I've basically tried out different methods to find the ones where it poses less of a risk to the private label seller. And there's a lot of different strategies in terms of ordering inventory. And today specifically, we can talk about ranking your product in a way that will not be against Amazon's terms of service, in a way where you don't have to spend so much money and be stressed that you're in the negatives. There are still ways that you can do that. I know that it seems foreign and it seems stressful, but I think that the ways that worked in the past definitely still work today.
Yeah, pretty cool. So as you mentioned, we're going to be talking about these less risky ways, and they are obviously possible because you've done them yourself and And well, before we dive into that, may I ask you, like, I'm just curious, you mentioned that you started being an entrepreneur a few years ago. What made you do that? Like, because you were like a student beforehand and I know you did some modeling. What made you do and go to that route?
Yeah, a lot of things actually. I think I'm an immigrant from Russia, and the whole mindset was to get a better life for yourself, right? Just to work hard, to do things that will give you a better future. And I always wanted that for myself and my family. But the more I started being kind of in that cycle of, I worked really hard in school, right? So I was pre med, I was a biology major, I went to UCI, and I was also signed to a modeling agency in Los Angeles. And all of that was fun. It was a lot of work, but I saw people living different lives than me, right? More income, more freedom, more time, more flexibility. And I started thinking that how did they get this way? Did they do the same thing I was doing? A lot of them did, right? They got really good educations and got really good jobs, but a lot of them also didn't. And that's when I realized that the first time I realized actually that there is other things that you can do, the leveraging the power of the internet. And I was kind of just browsing around, looking at some business models for the first time in my life. And I came onto private label and it just made a lot of sense. It's almost like when a light bulb goes off, you know that this is something that is going to have a good outcome. And then I just didn't waste any time and got straight into it, basically, from that point on.
So pretty much you wanted more freedom, you wanted a different kind of life because you saw that it's possible from other people that you've seen. And then you stumbled upon, I guess, one of these or this business model, Amazon, and you felt that, well, that seems to be it. And then you just started. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And since then you're selling, then you pivoted also doing like, not just pivoted, you added to one of your things that you do, YouTube, and now you have Seller Compass, and probably many other things that I don't know. I just know about these things.
For sure. I think I like spreading my techniques and my message because it worked for me, right? So I started with private label selling and then I took on coaching. So I actually have a few courses on PPC and also on just full A to Z program. And then the idea to start an agency came about, and we have a lot of amazing clients of every level. So whether they want, let's say, one-time service, such as find me a low risk product that I can rank with just PPC, we can do that for a one-time low fee, right? So it's accessible to everyone. And we also have giant clients doing multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, and they may need in-depth full account management. So taking their PPC, helping with their ranking. We actually do that too, monitoring everything internally. And that really helps take the time off their hands, because as time went on, I realized for a very long time, I would say for about 2 years, I was the only person in my business. So it was me doing everything. And I enjoyed it, obviously, because I no longer had to work anywhere else. I didn't have to answer to anybody else. But I started realizing that this is great, but you're still putting in probably more hours, right? It's definitely, I would choose that over anything any day. But I realized that there are other ways that you can approach it where you can outsource certain tasks, maybe hire some people, or also agencies, right? They can take a lot of that in-house and you don't have to be downloading your search term reports every single day or negative matching words and doing all of this. There's also really great tools out there that help you minimize that too. So actually, our agency, we own several softwares. Zon.tools is one of them. It's actually the very first PPC software for Amazon sellers ever, right? So extremely intelligent developers, and they like within the tool, you can just click a few buttons and it will negative match words. It will keep you within your ACOS. It will show you the search terms from months ago that you can just add on to new campaigns. And comparing that, how easy that is now, you can do this all in 5 minutes versus when I started, where I would be sitting there for hours, like 3 hours a day, reading through campaigns. That saves so much time. So that brings me to my point of how, people say Amazon is too competitive, it's too hard, it's too time consuming, it's impossible. Well, I actually like to say that it's opposite. It's actually easier. It's more convenient than ever. You just have to have the right mindset shift. Just because people are talking about it more doesn't mean it's more competitive. It's actually growing. And there's more tools out there that help you make less risks and also save you a lot of time when it comes to actually working on your business.
Yeah, pretty cool. So you started as a seller, you saw how it works, you wanted to free up some time. You actually probably get excited about other things in the field, and then YouTube, helping others, like softwares that you invested in, and also the agents. Pretty much you do many things in the sphere. So I think it's interesting, and I think if people go to your channel and see some of your stuff, it's going to be beneficial for them as well. But also, as for the topic of the video, so obviously, as you mentioned, you launch like low risk products, but how do we get to page 1? What should we look at? What are these methods that are less, as I mentioned in the beginning, shady? What do you think, Karina?
I think it's like a layer of an onion, right? It's not just a one-time thing. So I want to say the very most important thing is your product, right? Before we get into the strategies. And I talk about this in so many videos because in all my students, I want to emphasize the fact that product research is very important. If you take something that is trending and hot selling and you expect to throw it out there and hope it works, it's not going to. If you are trying to compete with sellers that have thousands of reviews and you're just a new time seller, it's also not going to work. If you have a product that is not optimized, also, if you didn't put enough effort into your images or your optimization, which by the way, our company does as well, Seller Compass. So we take all of that. It's not going to convert well, right? So keeping in mind that all of that is checked off, then we can get into the launching strategies, right? But the strategy is to, unless you have a product, let's say if you're a brand and it's already doing well somewhere else, it's a little bit of a different story because you might have some people searching you and that's going to help your rank as well. But let's just talk if you are a first-time brand, this is a first-time product, how do we actually launch there? In the past, there used to be much easier ways to do it. You can get reviews, you can do like 99% off giveaways, which Amazon has blocked that now. That doesn't work anymore. But I want to really focus on the topic of PPC because I think it's often ignored. One, because people just don't know where to start. And two, because it's overwhelming once you do start. Actually, a lot of our clients, they look at their PPC and they say, please just take this over. I don't know how to do it. It's very stressful. There's too many words. I don't know what direction to go. So they just turn on these campaigns and hope for the best. But the key is into looking over them carefully, knowing what to look for, optimizing them over time, and really not being afraid to spend a good amount of money reasonably on these campaigns. So there's your ACoS, which is your advertising cost of sales. And typically when you launch, it can get really high. I've even seen it at like 400%. Obviously that's not ideal, but anything over 100, I would say is even normal when you first launch a product. You really have to find the right key terms and put together campaigns, but you also have to compare that ACoS to your total ACoS. So when you start these campaigns and say you put really targeted words, your main keyword, and also let's say that's the number one search word that your product is having, and some other ones, you have to look at the ACoS and see it at face value. Okay, so every $10 I spend, I make 2 sales, right? Say it's 70% ACoS. Somebody might want to turn off that word and say, this is not working for me. But is it possible that because you got those 2 sales, it helps your overall ranking with your product, and now you are ranking higher? Now more organic people are seeing your product and then they're buying. So in reality, you have 5 sales, which means your ACoS, overall ACoS is 30%, right? That's how you have to look at it. And I figured this out, believe it or not, years ago. I mean, I know I'm not the only one that talks about this. This is quite a common topic. I think it's a topic that's not given enough attention to, but I accidentally would even say figure this out on one of my early products where I saw the ACoS was like getting high. And to me, high, it wasn't even that high. It was like 35% or something, which is not high, especially in the industry, in the niche that product was in. And I said, you know what, I'm going to optimize these, and I over optimize. I'm going to negative match. I'm going to lower the bids, all of this. And my ACoS went down. It's exactly what I wanted, but then so did my overall sales. And I noticed that not only was I making less revenue in general, but my profits were less as well. And I let it run for about 2 weeks before I realized something was off. And I said, this is not a good strategy. I was making more profit when I had a higher ACoS, which seems counterintuitive because you look at a high ACoS and you assume you're losing money, right? But if you compare that, what are your overall sales? It's actually helping you rank even higher, not just for those words that you're running PPC, but every word that's in your listing, every word that's in your title that's relatable to the product. And that's why optimizing your listing is super, super important, because if you are lazy about it and you just put a few words in and you say, whatever, it's going to rank, you're missing all those longer tailed keywords as well that you can be ranking for just as a bonus. So your goal is to try to get on these page ones for all these keywords, right? So when you do that, whether it's with PPC or organically, some words that are longer tailed, you can do it easily. Maybe you need 2 or 3 or 5 sales and you're already ranking. Other words are harder, like your main keyword, right? But over time, organically and with PPC, it really adds to that power. And the more you are ranking organically, PPC also favors your product and vice versa as well. The more you're running PPC, the more organic rank you're getting. So I would say this is still the safe approach. You just need to know what type of keywords to put in and how to optimize it, which means knowing, should I turn this word off or should I just lower the bid? Do I turn this keyword off or do I negative match some of the search terms that are popping up under that word and just leave the keyword because it's still relative enough? Now, of course, if I went into all the details, this would be maybe a 5-hour video, right? But that's just kind of a general idea. There is a science to it. It is not something random. It's not something that you just launch and run the campaigns and hope for the best. It's something that takes strategy and actually understanding what to do. But it is something that is very beneficial and gives, I guess you could say it prints you money over time, right? Because if you really fine tune it, then you know that if I run this word and these keywords with this bid, I'm going to make X amount. So anything you put out there, you know, it's going to be profitable. So that's kind of the key when it comes to PPC. Of course, our agency also has a ranking service, which is also not against terms of service, and it's completely white hat within terms of service that helps get that extra boost. But again, it's not necessary for all companies and all products.
So if I understood you right, Karina, before you even start any sort of promotions or ranking, get your list. You gotta have a good product. Obviously, you gotta be somewhat different from the competition, right? Then you have to optimize the listing. So you have to do the right keyword research, all the indexing of the keywords, have the right pictures, hopefully a video as well if you can add that if you're brand registered. I think actually now you don't need brand registry for a video. even. So once you have the listing, you start, if you want to do it only PPC, you start doing your PPC launch, right? Without any giveaways or any other ways, which you're mentioning is can be enough for, if not for every niche, I would say, again, at least from my experience, but definitely can be. If the product research was done right, you can launch with PPC only, in my opinion. But even if you are getting higher ACOS, so you see that not all your clicks convert to sales, right? Don't drop off the keywords immediately, because you might still get sales and rank, and eventually you will make more profits, right? In the beginning, don't get discouraged by not getting sales because of the clicks, and obviously give it some time. If you're one day like minus in money, don't panic, like just give it time, try more, right? But again, you don't necessarily need to stop PPC if you are not converting. If you are higher ACOS in the beginning, that's fine. And then you will get initial reviews that will also help you from your initial sales. So you gotta give some traffic. You gotta lose in the beginning, probably a little bit, in order to get the sales, the rankings, the reviews. But also, as you mentioned, you have the other service where you have a white hat method of like sharing the product of our sellers with a group of buyers, I believe, right? That are real buyers.
Exactly. So yeah, if you want more information about all those services, you can just go to sellercompass.io and send us a message, and we'll like evaluate your product. But looping back to what you just said, just my tip is to download your search term reports. People just don't do that enough and don't look through those. So that data is very, very powerful. So download them, and it will give you a lot of insight into your campaigns. It's not something you can just let run loose and, like I said, just leave it there and hope for the best. You have to download them and really read through the data. And that will be a very good indication of how your product is doing and what tweaks you have to make to it.
Pretty cool. So Karina, in the description, I will have your service linked, the Seller Compass, so people can check what you are guys doing. And also, if you have a PPC playlist on YouTube, I believe you do, or I can link people there as well. So it's going to be in the description. Again, we can't add all this in one video. We would love to, but yeah, I think it would be just too long. And therefore, there's going to be a link down in the description to a playlist, so you can actually see more strategies by Karina for this. Yeah.
Exactly. And if your audience has any questions, they can also reach out to me on Instagram. That would be the easiest way to contact me. It's Into a Milli is my handle.
So yeah, we're going to have all of your Instagram, Seller Compass, your YouTube playlist, so people can check and get to know you more. And before we wrap it up, Karina, anything you would like to kind of say to our audience here? We're mostly private label sellers from different levels, I would say, from all around the world. Maybe something from you. Q4 is upcoming, maybe some, whatever you.
I mean, I have a lot to say, but I say something in every video. But I guess like what I want to say is that it can start with Amazon for any private label seller, but it doesn't have to end there, right? It's just a window of opportunity that I think is a great way to capitalize on and go towards. Even though it's a little challenging at times or seems uncertain, if you stick through it and just correct your mistakes and take the low risk approach, it could lead to a lot of different things, right? Like we're in a conference in beautiful New York City right now. When I started, I didn't know I would be here at this amazing event, right? It's a white label event. So it's a good, I mean, it doesn't even have to be beginner. It could be your solid career, but it could also lead to other opportunities because you just develop that mindset of, I am not driven by, let's say, an hourly wage. I'm driven by results. And when you're driven by results and you know that the only way you'll get those results is from your work ethic, you improve as a person. And not only does business opportunities open up, but just life opportunities in general, just because you're in that different mindset.
Yeah, I would say to people, say yes to more things that come towards your way, expand your horizons. Yeah, if you start from Amazon, you can go to new things, like, because, and I would also say get more connections in the field. Try talking to more sellers. You never know where it gets you. Karina is now in an event, and that's going to happen, and she's with her company. Like, I'm talking to her now. This wouldn't have happened if we wouldn't be doing things in the past. So, right. So yeah, Karina, thank you for coming today. You're welcome to come for more videos. Share your wisdom with us anytime. Thank you. And again, all the things that you mentioned are in the description for our
Awesome. You guys have a good day.
Thanks, Karina.